What if the regrets of one elderly woman could save you years of unnecessary pain and heartache? Her quiet lessons, learned the hard way, offer a gentle yet powerful reminder of the cost of overlooked choices as we age. We often rush through life, thinking there will always be time to fix our mistakes later, but what happens when that time runs out? Meet Martha, an 81-year-old widow who, after decades of living with her regrets, now reflects on the choices she made that shaped her life. Her experiences may seem like a distant story to some, but for many, her mistakes are all too familiar. With each passing year, Martha has realized the weight of decisions left unmade, opportunities missed, and promises broken. Yet, what's most poignant about her journey is not just the mistakes, but the wisdom she now carries. Through tears and silent reflections, Martha wishes to share her lessons with those still in the prime of their lives, hoping to spare them from the same burdens of regret. This video will explore 5 costly mistakes Martha made, which led to years of struggle. But her story isn't just about regret. It's about wisdom gained and the hope that we can all avoid these pitfalls in our later years. It's about embracing the lessons we're often too afraid to face. And finding peace in the choices we make before it's too late. Mistake 1. Trusting her children with everything. While love for our children is natural, Martha's story shows that blindly handing over control can erode our independence. As we grow older, it's common to feel a sense of trust and dependence on our children, especially when life's challenges become more difficult to handle. From a Buddhist perspective, we must understand that detachment isn't about abandoning relationships, but about maintaining control over our own decisions. It's essential to keep a sense of balance, where love doesn't overwhelm our own ability to make choices. Martha's journey is a vivid reminder that our autonomy is an invaluable part of who we are, and losing it can take away more than just our independence. It can also diminish our sense of self-worth. Martha's story begins with a familiar situation. After her husband's passing, she felt overwhelmed by the responsibilities of maintaining the family home and managing her finances. For convenience, she entrusted her children with both her home and her bank account, believing it would make life easier. At first, everything seemed to work smoothly. They took care of bills and maintenance, and Martha felt relief knowing they were helping her. However, over time, the line between support and control began to blur. Slowly, she realized that her children were making decisions for her. Decisions about her home, her finances, and even her personal lifestyle. Initially, these actions seemed like small steps toward helping, but they gradually built up, leading her to a point where she no longer felt fully in charge of her own life. It wasn't about money, it was about dignity. At what point do we realize that our sense of self-worth isn't in the hands of others? Martha reflects on this question with a deep sense of loss. She found herself questioning whether she was still the same person when her decisions were no longer her own. It wasn't just about the financial aspect, it was about feeling powerless in her own life, as though she had been reduced to an observer rather than an active participant. The loss of autonomy left Martha feeling diminished, as though her identity had been undermined by the very people she trusted most. It was a painful realization, and one that many older adults experience in different forms. When we give too much of ourselves away, we sometimes lose the essence of who we are. In Buddhism, we learn to act wisely, with awareness, without clinging. Martha's story reminds us to maintain clarity in our decisions, even in the face of love. Buddhism teaches us that detachment doesn't mean indifference or cutting off relationships. It means not clinging to them in ways that prevent us from seeing clearly. Martha's loss of autonomy can be seen as a form of clinging. By entrusting her children with control over her life, she inadvertently allowed her love for them to cloud her ability to make her own decisions. The Buddhist perspective reminds us that we must continue to cultivate awareness and wisdom in all our actions. Love for our children should not come at the cost of our clarity or sense of self. We must remain grounded in our ability to choose, even in the face of what might seem like well-intended help. Martha's advice is simple. Keep help close, but keep your decisions even closer. For your dignity, never surrender your autonomy fully. The heart of Martha's lesson is that while accepting help from those we love is important, we must never give away our power to make decisions. Independence is not just about physical freedom. It's about preserving our dignity, our sense of self, and our ability to live on our own terms. As we age, it becomes even more crucial to find the balance between relying on others and maintaining the sovereignty of our decisions. By staying connected to our own wisdom and clarity, we can protect our autonomy and honor our dignity, just as Martha wishes she had done. Mistake 2: saying yes to loneliness. As we age, the experiences of loneliness can often be misunderstood. It's not simply a matter of being physically alone, but the deeper emotional distance we may create between ourselves and others. This emotional withdrawal can begin as something subtle and unnoticed. Just like Martha's story, we may start by turning down an invitation here and there, believing that we are simply seeking solitude or self-care. However, without realizing it, those small rejections of connection build over time and slowly wrap around us like a cocoon, isolating us from the very relationships that once brought us joy. Martha never intended for loneliness to settle in. At first, she thought saying no to gatherings, declining phone calls, and retreating into her own space were harmless actions, just her way of taking a step back, of looking inward. She felt that by saying no, she was preserving her peace and personal space. But as months passed, those moments of solitude began to compound. And before she knew it, Martha found herself feeling more isolated than she could have imagined. We often make the same mistake, especially as we age. We assume that we are protecting ourselves by withdrawing, that we are becoming self-sufficient and independent by choosing to be alone. But what we fail to see is that this withdrawal can become a silent thief, slowly eroding our ability to connect with others. What we believe is a form of self-care can quietly evolve into an emotional prison, and that prison can be far more suffocating than physical solitude ever could be. Loneliness doesn't always announce itself with loud cries or desperate pleas. More often, it enters like a soft whisper, a voice in the back of our minds telling us that we are okay, that we don't need anyone else. We convince ourselves that we are fine, that we're at peace with being on our own. But the silence of that isolation is deafening, and over time, it chips away at our sense of connection, our sense of belonging. We begin to doubt if we are still worthy of those connections or whether others have simply moved on. In Buddhist teachings, we learn that true balance comes not from isolation, but from connection. To walk the path of mindfulness is to engage with the world, to open ourselves to both the joys and sorrows that come with relationships. Loneliness, when left unacknowledged, can distort our understanding of the world and of ourselves. It can make us feel disconnected not just from others, but from the essence of life itself. However, as Buddhist wisdom suggests, reconnecting, even in the smallest of ways, can help us find the peace and serenity we are truly seeking. A simple hello, a shared smile, a moment of listening. All of these small acts of reconnection can offer a lifeline to those adrift in loneliness. It doesn't have to be grand gestures or constant socialization, but small, meaningful connections that gently remind us that we are seen, we are valued, and we are loved. As we reflect on Martha's journey, let's ask ourselves, are we truly embracing life by staying isolated, or are we shutting ourselves off from the very essence of life itself? The choice to engage, to say yes to relationships and connections, is ultimately saying yes to life. It's saying yes to the richness of human experience with all its complexities, joys, and challenges. Saying yes to others is, in fact, saying yes to ourselves, our growth, our healing, and our humanity. So as we move through life, let us not teach the world that we are fine alone when inside we long for the connection that nourishes us. Let us open our hearts, reach out, and invite the world back in. Only through these connections can we find the true peace we seek. Mistake 3. Ignoring financial realities. Financial ignorance can cause unnecessary stress in later years. It's easy to assume everything will be okay, but without active management, things can spiral out of control. As we age, the complexities of managing finances can seem overwhelming. Often there's a tendency to assume that everything will somehow work itself out, or that we'll be fine without actively keeping track of our money. Unfortunately, this isn't always the case. Failing to stay on top of finances can lead to missed bills, fraud, and ultimately the anxiety that comes with financial instability. And When we don't manage our financial lives, we allow the fear of the unknown to settle in, creating unnecessary stress. This is especially true for older adults who may already be dealing with health concerns, family dynamics, or the loss of a spouse. The consequences of neglecting finances can be dire, but with awareness and action, the situation can often be avoided. I understand as a Buddhist that material wealth isn't the focus, but understanding your financial situation is part of maintaining balance and peace of mind in old age. From a Buddhist perspective, wealth is viewed as a fleeting concept, and the pursuit of material gain is not the key to true happiness. Yet, this doesn't mean we should ignore the realities of our financial situation. In fact, being aware of our finances and managing them well can contribute to inner peace. In old age, especially, there is a greater need to simplify life, and this includes understanding and organizing our financial world. By doing so, we relieve ourselves from the anxiety and uncertainty that comes with financial instability, allowing for a more peaceful mind. Financial clarity gives us the space to focus on the things that truly matter, like relationships, well-being, and spiritual growth. Martha neglected her finances after her husband's death, leading to unpaid bills, scams, and unnecessary stress. Take the case of Martha, a woman who, after the death of her husband, found herself lost in a sea of overdue bills and financial confusion. In her grief, she stopped paying attention to her accounts and let things slip through the cracks. Before long, she was faced with creditors calling her, and worse, falling victim to a scam that drained her savings. Martha's situation became a perfect storm of stress. She felt overwhelmed by the financial issues and didn't know where to turn. It wasn't until her family stepped in and helped her get her finances in order that she could begin to breathe again. Had she reached out for help earlier, the stress and chaos could have been minimized. This example is a reminder of the consequences of neglecting financial realities in our later years. Money isn't just numbers. It's a source of stability and peace, or stress and fear if left unmanaged. Martha's mistake was not seeking help soon enough. Martha's experience highlights an important emotional truth. Money isn't just a tool for buying goods and services. It's also a source of stability. When we don't manage our finances, the anxiety that results isn't just about the lack of funds. It's the emotional turmoil that comes with not knowing where we stand. Imagine lying awake at night, worrying about bills you've forgotten to pay or a scam that's taken your hard-earned savings. That constant fear can eat away at your peace of mind. But when we manage our finances, we create a sense of control and stability. This emotional well-being is crucial in old age, where the focus should be on enjoying life and maintaining health, not stressing over financial problems that can be avoided. In Buddhist teachings, we are reminded that ignorance can lead to suffering. Seeking knowledge, even in old age, can bring relief from that suffering. Buddhism teaches that ignorance is one of the root causes of suffering. We often believe that avoiding uncomfortable topics like finances will give us peace. But in reality, that avoidance only leads to more stress and suffering in the long run. Seeking knowledge, whether it's about managing money, understanding taxes, or setting up a retirement plan, can bring about relief. The process of seeking guidance and understanding is liberating. It allows us to live more fully without the weight of financial uncertainty hanging over us. In Buddhism, wisdom is not just about spiritual teachings, but also practical knowledge that enhances our daily lives. Even in our later years, we can continue to grow by seeking the help we need and learning what will bring us peace. Financial clarity in old age isn't about accumulation, it's about peace of mind. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's wisdom. As we grow older, the desire for more wealth diminishes, but the need for financial peace and stability becomes even more essential. Understanding where we stand financially and seeking help when necessary isn't about accumulating more money. It's about safeguarding our mental and emotional well-being. Financial clarity is a key part of living a balanced, peaceful life in our later years. Remember, asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but a step toward wisdom. It's a choice to take control of your circumstances and ensure that your later years are filled with peace, not financial anxiety. Embrace this wisdom and live your golden years with confidence and serenity. Mistake 4, letting bitterness grow instead of healing. Unaddressed grief can fester into bitterness. Martha's pain from loss grew over time, turning into resentment that affected her relationships. As we move through life, the weight of grief and loss can become overwhelming. It's a common experience, one that touches everyone in some form, whether through the passing of loved ones, the end of relationships, or the loss of opportunities. But it's how we process and deal with these losses that shapes the course of our emotional health. If grief is left unaddressed or unresolved, it can transform into something much darker: bitterness. Martha, a woman I knew, experienced this firsthand. The pain she carried from losing her spouse was significant, and at first she allowed herself the space to grieve. However, over time, her grief grew into something more: resentment. She began to resent the world and the people around her, and even herself. This bitterness affected her relationships with others, including her children and close friends, as she became more irritable and withdrawn. As we age, it's natural to face loss, but allowing bitterness to take root can prevent healing and prevent new joy from entering our lives. As we grow older, life's challenges become more pronounced, and the toll of loss becomes heavier. It's a natural part of life's cycle, yet it's also during these times when the temptation to hold on to bitterness is most strong. Life can seem cruel and unfair when we lose what we love, but there is a subtle danger in holding on to that pain. Bitterness, when allowed to settle in the heart, locks us in the past, making it impossible to move forward. It keeps us anchored in sorrow, not allowing new joys or experiences to come into our lives. We may not even realize it, but bitterness has a way of slowly suffocating our ability to find peace or happiness. Holding on to old griefs like Martha did makes it harder to embrace what is still beautiful and meaningful in the present. Martha held on to small grievances and let them build up, affecting her relationships with others, including her family. Martha's story is one many of us can relate to. At first, her grievances were small: an unspoken word from a friend, a harsh comment from a family member, or an unkept promise. These minor annoyances began to accumulate, and rather than address them, Martha allowed them to fester in her heart. Over time, these small slights turned into a thick cloud of resentment. It was no longer just about the loss of her spouse. It became about everything that had ever gone wrong in her life. Her bitterness infected her relationships. She started distancing herself from family gatherings, avoiding interactions with friends, and shutting out anyone who might remind her of her pain. The very people who could have helped her heal became the targets of her frustration. It was a slow, insidious process. But Martha didn't realize that she was only hurting herself. By holding on to these grievances, she was denying herself the chance for real healing and the joy that could have come with it. Bitterness clouds our vision. It makes us see slights where there are none. The cost of holding on to old wounds is far greater than the pain of letting them go. The most dangerous aspect of bitterness is how it distorts reality. When we allow anger and resentment to take root, they begin to color everything we see. We begin to notice only the negative, even when it isn't there. Small misunderstandings become major offenses. People we care about become enemies, and situations that could be healed become battlegrounds. Bitterness creates a filter through which we see the world, not as it is, but as we feel it should be, shaped by our hurts and our anger. But the cost of holding on to old wounds is high. Not only do we miss the beauty of the present moment, but we also remain stuck in a cycle of pain. The weight of these unresolved issues becomes more unbearable over time. Letting go of bitterness is hard, but the relief and freedom that come from it are immeasurable. In Buddhist teachings, we learn to release attachments, especially to past grievances. Healing begins the moment we decide to let go of what no longer serves us. Buddhism offers profound wisdom for dealing with loss and bitterness. One of its core teachings is the importance of releasing attachments, especially those to past grievances. We are encouraged to embrace the idea that clinging to what no longer serves us only causes suffering. The practice of mindfulness teaches us to be present in the moment, not stuck in the past. By learning to let go of attachment to old wounds, we open ourselves to healing and peace. Buddhists believe that true healing begins when we decide to release the weight of past hurts, choosing forgiveness and compassion instead of bitterness. This act of letting go is not a sign of weakness, but one of strength and wisdom. It allows us to move forward, free from the emotional chains that bind us to past pain. Martha's greatest wisdom here: healing is not forgetting. It's about choosing to not let the past control our future. In the end, the greatest lesson Martha learned was that healing doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means choosing to not let it control the present or the future. She found that by letting go of bitterness, she could start to rebuild her relationships and find new joy in her life. It wasn't easy, and it didn't happen overnight. But with time, she was able to create a space where healing could happen. She realized that holding on to the past only made her more stuck. By choosing to forgive, she allowed herself to experience life again, fully and without the burden of old hurts. The key is not to erase the pain, but to understand that healing is a process that can only begin when we let go of the things that hold us back. Mistake 5: isolating herself from new possibilities. Life after loss doesn't have to mean shutting the door to new experiences. Martha's mistake was thinking that age or grief could close the door to new opportunities. I've often seen older adults retreat into comfort, believing that it's too late to try new things. But that's the exact moment to open up to new possibilities. As we age, it's easy to feel as if we've lived most of our lives and that new experiences might be out of reach. The comfort of routine and the safety of familiarity can create a false sense of security. It's common for people to feel like they've passed the age of exploring, learning, or even meeting new people. However, as I've observed, it's in those moments of retreat when we feel most disconnected from the world that we can discover the greatest potential for renewal. Often, we're so focused on the loss, whether it's the loss of a loved one, our youth, or an old way of life, that we forget there's so much yet to be experienced. Life doesn't stop at any age. If we are still breathing, there's still something to learn, someone to meet, and a part of us waiting to be discovered. After her husband's death, Martha turned down multiple opportunities to engage with the community, thinking she was too old or too set in her ways. Martha, a dear friend of mine, was deeply affected by the death of her husband. For a long time, she withdrew from everything. Invitations from neighbors, events at her church, and even opportunities for travel all seemed irrelevant to her. The loss she felt seemed to have closed off not just the past, but also the future. She became convinced that it was too late for her to meet new people or pursue new activities. She felt that the life she had lived was enough, and that anything new would only remind her of what she had lost. But this mindset led her to isolate herself, and in doing so, she missed out on a world of new experiences that could have helped her heal and grow. It wasn't until a gentle conversation with a close friend that Martha realized what she was doing. She was living in the shadows of her grief, but her future didn't have to be defined by that. Grief, like joy, is just another experience in the journey of life. The path forward isn't about forgetting the past, but about integrating the lessons from it and allowing them to propel us toward new horizons. A life well lived isn't just about surviving, but about continuing to grow. Martha's breakthrough came when she realized that every day offers the potential for something new. There is a deep beauty in aging gracefully, but that doesn't mean resigning ourselves to the idea that life has passed us by. As Martha began to accept that the death of her husband didn't end her story, she started taking small steps. She joined a painting class, something she had always been curious about but never had the time for. Through that, she met other people who shared her interests, and she slowly began to feel a sense of connection and purpose again. The transformation was not instantaneous, but it was profound. Martha began to live again, not as a woman defined by loss, but as one who continued to seek, learn, and grow. It was a reminder for me as well. It's easy to get caught up in the illusion that certain opportunities are no longer meant for us. Whether it's a new job, a new relationship, or simply taking up a new hobby, it's never too late to experience something fresh. Martha's breakthrough came when she embraced the idea that her journey was still unfolding and that new chapters could be written even in the later years of her life. In Buddhism, we're taught that life is impermanent. Each moment, no matter our age, offers an opportunity to explore, to learn, and live fully. The Buddhist perspective reminds us that nothing in life is permanent. Everything is in a constant state of change. We are constantly evolving, and as long as we are alive, we have the chance to transform ourselves. This truth can be liberating for those who feel that age or loss has confined them. Buddhism teaches us that every moment, even as we age, holds the potential for growth. In fact, the wisdom that comes with age can open us up to deeper insights and experiences than we could have imagined in our younger years. It's an invitation to live fully in each present moment, no matter where we are in life's journey. Never let age be an excuse to stop growing. Whether it's a hobby, a class, or a new friendship, embrace the possibilities that each new day brings. As we grow older, we may face physical limitations, but our minds and hearts remain capable of incredible expansion. Each new day is an opportunity to embrace something fresh, to connect with others, and to continue evolving. Life after loss doesn't have to be defined by what we've lost. Instead, it can be an opportunity to redefine what it means to live fully and meaningfully. Age doesn't close doors, it opens them, if only we're willing to walk through them. Martha's journey serves as a powerful reminder that aging should not be viewed as a time to withdraw from life, but rather a phase for wisdom, personal growth, and deeper connections with others. Every misstep she encountered was not just a failure, but a stepping stone, a chance to reflect, learn, and ultimately transform herself. Her story underscores the truth that the years we accumulate bring with them unique opportunities for reinvention. As we age, we carry the possibility to reshape our identities, our relationships, and even our approach to life itself. From a Buddhist perspective, wisdom is not merely about the right decisions we make, but rather about acknowledging the times we falter and the strength we summon to change. This understanding teaches us that life, regardless of age, remains a continuous journey of learning and growth. In Buddhism, each moment holds the potential for awakening. Just as Martha learned to adapt and evolve, we too can choose to embrace the lessons that arise with each passing year, allowing those lessons to shape us into more compassionate, self-aware individuals. What part of Martha's story touched you the most? Was there a lesson in her experiences that you see mirrored in your own life? Please share your reflections in the comments below. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support is invaluable and helps us create more content that enriches your life and deepens our collective journey.